Okay, we're on page 149, law 17, and Mordechai is going to read that paragraph for us.
You may not tell a non-Jew to cook or bake for you on Shabbat. You may not eat food cooked and baked by a non-Jew for a Jew on Shabbat. So such time has elapsed after Shabbat as it would take to cook the food and bake the bread. Where you asked a non-Jew to heat the house, you may have them put the cold pots of cooked food and liquids on the oven before lighting the fire in order to reheat them for the Shabbat meal.
Okay, so this is the concept that you can't ask a non-Jew to cook for you. And if the non-Jew does cook for you, you have to wait until after the time it would take to cook it after Shabbos before eating it. But at the end, he includes a different law where you ask the non-Jew to heat the house. You may have him put the cold pots of cooked food and liquids on the oven before lighting the fire in order to reheat them for the Shabbos meal. So what does this mean? Having a non-Jew put cooked food on a stove to be heated. You're not permitted to ask a non-Jew to do anything on Shabbat. So therefore, even if it's only rabbinic, so you can't request a non-Jew to put a pot of cooked food on a heated stove, which is used exclusively for cooking. But if it's not used for cooking, if it's used for heating, then you could have him turn the heat on and then heat it up. Okay, law number 18. Noam, it's your turn to read.
On page 119.
149. Why did you say 119? Was that just a random guess? Like pick a card?
For some reason I thought you said that.
No.
It is a mitzvah to eat hot food on Shabbat. Preparing good food and preserving its heat in a permissible way honors Shabbat and makes it a day of honor.
Right. So even though there are all these laws that prohibit cooking on Shabbos, to make hot. So you might say, okay, I'll just eat cold food. I'll just eat herring and lox, and no, it's a mitzvah to prepare the food in the permissible manner and have it hot on Shabbos. Go on.
Moreover, while Chazal permit the use of firelit before Shabbat, some sects who denied the validity of a Torah Shabbat Peh forbade it.
Right. So the Karaites traditionally did not accept rabbinic interpretation of the oral law, so they served cold food on Shabbos. That's why we have the practice of serving cholent to show that we could eat hot food on Shabbos. So it's specifically go out of our way to show we can eat hot food. Okay, so this is the very long chapter he had on the prohibition of cooking. And now this was cooking on Shabbos, and now we're up to number 12, gozes, shearing. Okay, you read that.
The objective of this av malacha is to sever the outer covering of wool of hair of an animal from its natural source.
So you're not allowed to cut off the animal. That's the main thing, the wool or hair of an animal. Okay.
The activities prohibited within this malacha include shearing wool or hair from a domestic or non-domestic animal or fowl.
Okay, if you ever get chicken with the skin on it and you have the feathers, so is that included in this? It might be, yeah. It might be several different prohibitions to remove the feathers from the chicken. Go on.
Irrespective of whether it's alive or dead.
Right. Here, look at, they have a footnote. Some authorities caution against removing small feathers that remain on the skin of the chicken after it has been cooked. Others, however, maintain that the prohibition does not apply after it's cooked, especially since the feathers are loose and practically detached. Okay, fine. Law number 2, continue, Noam.
Also included within this malacha are plucking feathers from a bird or fowl, and pulling off or cutting off one's own nails or hair, or another person's nails or hair with an implement.
Okay, so you're not allowed to cut your own nails with an implement. Let's see what this footnote says. Removing hair from the face, the head, or the body, whether by using scissors, razor, shaver, or an ointment violates the prohibition, is forbidden on Shabbos. In the case of a razor, using it to shave a man's beard is an additional. Okay, fine, but well, let's see what happens if you do it by hand. So that's a rabbinic prohibition. Go on. Chazal also prohibit.
Chazal also prohibited pulling off nails or pulling out hair by hand and removing a wart by hand or with an implement.
He doesn't say with your mouth. Like, do you bite your teeth?
Or if you bite your nails.
Do you bite your nails? Don't do that. But if you do, it's prohibited on Shabbos. So you're also not allowed to pull out hair. Removing a hangnail that is painful. You may remove a hangnail that is mostly detached and causes you pain, or is likely to cause you pain, but only by hand or with your teeth, not with an implement. If it is not mostly detached as well as likely to cause pain, you cannot do it. Here's a key one. Nor are you permitted to comb the hair or to brush it with a hard brush, as you're certain to tear out some hair. So you can't comb your hair on Shabbos. Look at footnote 4. A woman should refrain from combing out her sheta on Shabbos. Brushing your hair. You may part your hair by hand and brush the hair with a light, soft brush. Preferably a brush you keep expressly for use on Shabbos. So if you're not going to tear out the hair with the brush, then it's okay. But otherwise, it's going to be problematic because you might tear out the hair. So therefore, you should avoid brushing your hair with a hard brush. Actually, with a hard brush, you certainly shouldn't do it. With a soft brush, if you're sure you're not going to tear out your hair, then it'll be okay. And that's shearing. So the big things to keep in mind for relevance for those of us who don't live on a farm is not to be careful how we brush our hair, and also not to cut our nails, even with our hands or with our teeth, unless there's a painful hanging nail. Then we can use our hands or teeth. Okay, we're up to the next one, cleaning. This is also relevant. Let's see what's cleaning here. No,
The objective of this Av Malacha is to remove stains, dirt, or coloring from wool, linen, and other fabrics.
So you're not allowed to move the stains. Okay, go on.
Activities prohibited within this Malacha include bleaching a cloth or fabric or cleaning it by rubbing the fabric on a washboard.
Okay, so that's the basic one. Let's see what's included within it. Any included within this malacha of malabin, of cleaning, are laundering a garment. You can't launder the garment.
So what if like you're in the Shabbat dinner and you spill some wine or something on yourself? You're not supposed to.
Well, let's see what they say here. I'm sure he's going to have that. Here. Well, it would seem to be. Read number 2. Also included within this malacha are laundering a garment by soaking it in water, by pouring water or some other cleaning agent over it. So it's expressly prohibited to do that. If you have a stain on your shirt, you're not allowed to get it out. It's explicitly prohibited. That and also wringing or pressing water out of a cloth or garment, which is called sechita. Oh, Jonathan. So look at footnote 3, washing and drying dishes with a cloth. In washing dishes, you should not use a cloth that will absorb the water, because it will lead to pressing out the water in violation of sechita. You can use a dish scrubber made of plastic or other non-absorbent material. Oh, Jeffrey. In drying the dishes, you should use a cloth designated for that purpose, so you'll not be concerned with its condition, and which you're comfortable having, and will not squeeze the water out. What about use of a paper towel? That's allowed. What about wiping a table? That's allowed. Washing a baby, drying yourself with a towel, that's allowed. Wearing wet clothes, well, nobody does that. Taking clothes out of the dryer, you could do that. Drying your hair, That seems to be allowed. Brushing and removing dirt from clothing. That's, you gotta be careful. Cleaning shoes of dirt and mud. You can do that. But it's tricky. Okay, we'll read foot law number 3 on page 154. Lazelle? Here, yeah,
How does one do that?
do
Like,
what?
Clean it off. You say it's tricky. What?
The mud?
Yeah, let's,
Here, they have footnote, look at footnote 12 on page 155. You may clean shoes made of leather or similar non-absorbent material by pouring water over them. You may remove mud that is still wet by scraping them lightly with a scraper or some other article that may handle on Shabbat, but not with a knife. You may not scrape off dry mud, but you may wash it off with water. Suede and cloth shoes are governed by laws that apply to cleaning clothes. So it depends on the type of material. If it's non-absorbent material, then you can wash it off.
If it's not what the material?
Non-absorbent
Non-
material. If it's absorbent material, then it's more problematic. Okay, just read this last law.
Chazal also prohibited mopping up water with a cloth or wiping up water with a sponge, for fear that you will wring out the water.
You have to use a special Shabbos sponge that you're not going to come and wring out.
Handling wet wash clothing, hanging wash clothing out.
To dry, go on.
Rubbing clothes after laundering to make them shine, wringing water out of your hair, and brushing dust or dirt from a suit, garment, or your shoes.
Okay, so basically,
Can't do that, right?
now to clean. Okay, so now we're up to, we'll stop here, but we're up to Menaphates. Okay, so